Hello, we're here today to tell you about Modified Role. What you're about to hear are real-life testimonies of people who have been affected by Modified Role. None of the people you're about to hear are paid actors. I mean, they are actors, but we're not paying them.
Before I found Modified Role, I never knew of the foe that plagued humanity for generations, Rivers.
Before Modified Role, I didn't know there were dice with more than 6 sides.
Well, before I found Modified Role, I thought fantasy role-playing was something you did in the bedroom.
Before Modified Role, I didn't know rolling dice could be so dangerous.
Before Modified Role came along, I couldn't tell the difference between a D20 and a tennis ball. Needless to say, it's changed my life.
Before Modified Role, I was shocked when someone would offer to show me their minis.
So, with so many lives changed through Modified Role, don't you think it's time you gave it a try?
Modified Role has not been proven to improve life in any measurable metric and cannot be held responsible for any detrimental impact caused by listening to the podcast.
Modified Role takes no responsibility for the loss of bards, dwarves, or animal companions.
Welcome one and all to Merely Roleplayers, where theatrical people play role-playing games. My name is Matt Boothman. I'm your compère for this Backstage episode from our main house production. I'm joined backstage by Chris Starkey.
Hello.
By Strat.
Hello.
They will be chipping in, and also by subject of today's Backstage episode, Ellie.
Hello.
Excited, Ellie, about filling in your playbook?
I am nerdily excited.
Why is that? Which playbook have you picked?
I am the Exile.
This is the Unstuck in Time playbook.
That's right. I love time travel.
So you are from Off of the Past.
Yes, I am.
Everybody excited to hear exactly how Off of the Past Ellie is?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
So what was it that drew you to this one? Because I know this was your first choice.
I love the past. Yeah, I really love particular eras of time, and I've always been into history, and I love anything to do with time travel and people who are displaced in time. A lot of my sort of viewing and reading lists can be recognised by that tick box. That's one of my top criteria.
Have you got some recommendations or things that you might be drawing on for this?
I have examples of the characters, definitely.
Yeah.
So Ichabod Crane in Sleepy Hollow, the TV series, which I've only watched the first couple of series of because it went a bit weird. There's a really good TV series called Warehouse 13, which is kind of this, Indiana Jones warehouse setup, and there's an agency who are responsible for dealing with all of the artifacts. And they have a character played by Jamie Murray called Helena G. Wells, who is supposedly the actual H.G. Wells and allowed her brother to be the face of her stories. So she is part of the agency in the past and gets voluntarily frozen and then accidentally unfrozen at the wrong moment in the present day. So that's, pretty much a perfect example. And then there's the obvious example of Captain America off of the Avengers. He gets all frozen as well.
He does. The classic, keeping up with 21st century pop culture references when you're from off of the 40s.
Yes.
So let's go through and fill in your playbook.
Okay.
In fact, tell us, because I know for a fact that you have a concept to play with.
I do.
That you sort of know what sort of character you're playing. So do you want to kind of pitch us the character?
Yeah, okay. I've just written just 2 pages of notes on it. So I toyed with the idea of playing a real historical figure, but felt like I may not then give myself permission to behave however I like, because I'd be concerned about throwing them into disrepute. So instead, I've gone for a fictional character that's connected to a real historical character. So I am an illegitimate daughter of Lord Byron, and therefore half-sister to his only legitimate child, Ada Lovelace, who is credited as being the first ever computer programmer.
I mean, illegitimate child of Lord Byron is very believable. Let's.
There are probably quite a lot of them around.
Yeah, I guess there was a club.
Yeah, based on the research I've done, there are sort of 3 that are acknowledged, 1 that's official, and many more probably. He was somewhat prolific in many areas, including producing of children. So that's the very basic element to my character.
Have you got a name for this person?
I do. Persephone Byron.
Oh, very good. Oh,
Thank you.
Kept his name.
Well, I don't know if he gave it to me, but I've taken it. And I'm known to my friends as Percy. Very cool.
So for the Exile, you get to pick your look, first of all, now that we've got a name and an idea of who you are. So you've got some gender presentation options, some options for what sort of body you have, body type options.
Yeah.
Clothing options, and then some sort of accessory as well. So what would you like from those lists?
I would like, please, to be a woman.
Okay.
I would like to have a scarred body.
Ooh, okay. Oh. Are we going to find out more about how that happened?
Yeah. The options are pretty wild on here. The options are warrior's body, wasted, scarred, lithe, short, tall, tattooed. And I thought, short and tall is kind of boring.
Unless you're like really short.
Really tall.
Really tall.
Yeah, 8 foot tall. And lithe just sounded creepy. So, I think scarred is cool. So I'm scarred.
Nice.
Clothing, armor was an option, but that doesn't fit with my time period and I think would be pretty unwieldy. And I don't want to have to make a clanking noise every time I move.
I think a lot of the options on the playbook are for if you want to be like a Roman gladiator or something like that, thrown forward in time. But
yeah, or like a medieval knight or something. Yeah, I've gone for just old-fashioned clothing.
Okay, so you kept the old-fashioned look rather than trying to like cobble together a one that blends in.
Yeah, for now. Yeah.
Okay.
I assume we're allowed to change clothes at some point.
I mean, yes.
Otherwise, it's going to get really weird. And then, you have a selection of objects that you're allowed to wear. So there's a silver necklace with a holy symbol, gold and silver arm rings, blah, blah, blah. I've gone for mystical amulet.
Ah, very nice. Does it open?
Yes, it's a locket.
Do you know what's in it?
Of course I do. Something mystical.
Of course.
I think it's some kind of gemstone that allows me to kind of amplify magic.
Ooh, very nice. So then stats, ratings.
Yes.
This is one of the only playbooks in the game that doesn't have like one stat that is always highest, whichever line you pick.
Yeah.
So you've got loads of different options. You've still only got 5 options to pick from, but there's much more variation in them than there is for a lot of the other playbooks. So
yeah, and that initially made me concerned, but then I realised there was one that fitted exactly what I wanted pretty much. So I've gone for the 4th option, which is charm -1, cool +1, sharp +1, tough +1, weird +2.
Yeah, so weird +2 is going to mean that you're good at magical stuff, which fits with the mystical amulet.
My amulet, it does.
Slightly less good at charm, which I guess could be your personality or could be your fish out of waterness.
Yeah, the way I saw it was, I've got some sort of details about this, but obviously as a woman in the time I was from, in order to get anywhere, I probably had to be pretty blunt a lot of the time. So I think I don't have time for charm. No nonsense. Yeah, it's a waste of my time.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
So the next part of the playbook is about your origin. So we know some details about that, but let's pick the actual blanks in this. So it gives you a little sort of story.
Yes.
So it's you are from blank in the year blank.
So I am mostly from England, and the year that I left the past is, let me just double check so I don't mess this up. I have a lot of specific details that rely on.
I will not know.
No, but
history is not my strong suit.
For the rest of my story to make sense, it needs to be precise, and you'll see why.
Ooh.
Okay, so I am from England in the UK, and I left the past in the year 1852.
1852, okay.
Well, I can tell you it's specifically the 26th of November.
Oh, okay. Do you want to tell us why?
I can tell you the full story, but I don't want to jump too far ahead.
Well, because there's no other bit on the sheet for the rest of the story. So yeah, why don't you?
Okay.
Oh, I'm intrigued.
Okay, you ready for this full story?
Go for it.
I really got very into this. Persephone Percy, born 8th of July, 1822, which is the same day that Percy Shelley, a great friend of her father, Lord Byron, drowned. So I was named after him. My mother was probably Teresa Giacioli. Giacioli?
We'll work that one out. Someone must be able to tell us.
Matt will pick one of those names in the edit, so don't worry.
I think it's Giacioli. My mother was probably Teresa Giacioli. She and Byron were having an affair in Italy from 1819 to 1823. That is fact, my friends. I've read a lot about this. She was married to somebody else who was 40 years older than her, and they were separated at the time I would have been conceived. So I couldn't be legitimised by either father figure. So I was kept a secret and sent to England to train in what was known then as the Order.
Ooh.
I was brought up primarily in London, but ended up from sort of mid to late teens being stationed all over the world to fight monsters, and was most recently stationed in Sherrydown. So my half-sister Ada and I have been developing a time machine, what with her clever math skills and whatnot, but it's still very much in the experimental stages. In 1852, the world's very existence is threatened by a big bad. On the 26th of November, there's a big showdown. Most of our team are battling in the forest outside town. A couple of team members, including Ada and I, are at HQ when we get word that the team are all dead and the big bad is heading our way. The psychic on our team has a vision that the big bad came to Earth in 1666 and that the Great Fire of London was a result of his arrival. Because 666, guys. We feel we have no option at this point with very limited time but to put the time machine to use, even though we know it's unstable. The idea is to send me to 1666 to prevent the summoning in the first place. But something goes wrong, and I arrive in the present day instead. I know that the Fire of London did happen, but the world is still turning, so I don't know what happened to the big bad, or what happened to my sister, Ada Lovelace, who died the following day in 1852.
Gotcha. I like it.
So that's most of the setup for my story.
Awesome.
Cool. So yeah, so this so far loosely defined big bad is your nemesis as defined in the playbook.
Exactly.
Very nice. Yeah, and you used an experimental time machine. Brilliant. Which that technology has either not persisted or has been hushed up.
Yeah.
Maybe both. We don't know.
Yeah.
Great.
What if the big bad is just like a really bad baker who moved to Pudding Lane?
It's a classic cover-up though, right? Blame the baker. God.
True.
So now the playbook allows you, it has more blanks. It says my nemesis is a blank named blank. So it does allow you, if you would like, to get specific about what it is. And is there a reason why you're leaving it as just big bad?
I think because I just wasn't really sure. I think I mostly was thinking it would be a demon of some kind that was summoned to bring about the end of the world.
That's very interesting, given at least one other person's character.
And it's, but then, it's a bit narratively strange that it would be summoned in 1666 and it's not until 1852 that we're having the big showdown. But I guess maybe there's been lots of showdowns and it's just been held off until now.
Maybe.
Fleeny Sod, the demon baker of Pudding Lane.
But yeah, I think probably demon is the thing that makes the most sense. Summoned with fire, like that's fairly
Yeah, fire and 666.
Yeah.
And with this potential to bring about some sort of end of the world, or at least end of England is what they'd be worried about, isn't it, back then?
Yeah, although the Order did have kind of some global spread, so...
I guess at that time, the British Empire would have been very much a thing, right? So they would have been a global enterprise, one would think.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said you've been sent around all over the world.
Yeah, I've got lots of Byron and Ada info that I think could pad out some of the history of the Order, if you're interested in that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I've almost convinced myself that this is all true, by the way. So Byron left the UK very shortly after Ada was born because he separated from his wife and his wife took the baby. He died at 36 years old, which is the same age that Ada died at. So now I'm like, did they actually both die, or does something happen to our bloodline at the age of 36? In 1816, Byron went to Lake Geneva in Switzerland with his personal physician, John William Polidori, and there he befriended the poet Percy Shelley and Shelley's future wife, Mary. And whilst they were there together, Mary Shelley started writing what would become Frankenstein, and the physician, Polidori, produced The Vampire, which is the kind of lead-in to the romantic vampire genre, or one of the. And Byron wrote a fragmentary story called A Fragment, which is about a vampire. So I'm wondering if they were actually there together on business for the Order, and they were all members, because they all know about stuff. Just makes sense, doesn't it?
One would wonder, indeed, yeah.
Ada Lovelace lost contact with her husband after confessing something to him on the 30th of August, which caused him to leave her. And that was only a few months before she then died. So I think she was confessing that she was a member of the Order and he couldn't handle the truth.
She told him that vehemently, that he couldn't handle the truth.
Yes, over and over again. She visited the electrical engineer, Andrew Cross, in 1844 to learn how to carry out electrical experiments, like making a time machine. She also worked with Babbage, which is, like, a lot of people know that, who made the combustion engine. So I assume he was a member as well, because an engineer would be really useful.
It is setting up like the Order being one of these sort of things that like rich, well-to-do people that had no real vocation did, and it's only been in recent times that it's been brought into an actual official government thing.
Yeah.
Well, that was going to be a question: is the Order the precursor to the Department of Emissions, or is it a different thing that is still around in some form?
I think it's a precursor. So when I was thinking about my relationship to the government department that's now known as GO, I thought, in my day, yes, it existed, but it was called the Order, and it wasn't government controlled. But there were members, like a lot of members of the Order were kind of in the upper echelons of society. So it was almost like a poorly kept secret, but most people thought that it was some kind of gentleman's club. Mm-hmm. The majority of members were men. Ada and I were only really there because of our father's membership. And the other few female members would have been there on the basis that they had some kind of special skill or attribute, like naturally, like psychics, or maybe some kinds of, monster types were there almost out of necessity because they lent things to the organisation that they weren't able to do themselves. But they were probably, even though they were vital, those female members would not have been respected anywhere near as much as all of the men. So I've got a bit of a feminist issue to push here, but
that's allowed.
Good, thank you.
Encouraged, even.
Wonderful.
Bring us your axes, we will grind them on this podcast.
Wonderful, good.
You get some moves. You get 2 Exile moves. Do you know which ones you want?
Yes, I do. So they're all really cool, and I had to decide and then think, it's okay, maybe I can get some more when we're playing. So the ones I'm going for are Immortal Name, which means... That one's
awesome.
Yeah, my monster hunting exploits are legendary, so much so that your name still scares monsters and minions. You may manipulate monsters with threats if they understand enough to have heard stories about you. So I think that makes sense because I'm historical.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Don't you know who I am?
Yeah, I am a Byron, bitch. And then the other one that I really like the look of is Ancient Magics.
Yeah, that one's cool too.
Yay! So it says you learned magic when less lore had been lost. When you use magic on a 7 to 9 result, don't choose a glitch. Instead, you just take -1 going forward. So I assume that means that it's like I get a success instead.
Effectively.
Does it upgrade my result?
Normally on a 7 to 9, when you use magic, you get the effect that you wanted, but there's some sort of glitch, like it doesn't last very long, or it's unstable, or it doesn't quite work as well as you thought it would, or you lose control of it or something like that. So you don't have to have the glitch, you get the effect, and you just get -1 on whatever your next roll is.
Cool. Yeah, I think that's going to be useful, because I'm not, like, I don't have inherently magic powers, but I want to do some magic stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and everybody who can remember that magic is real can do some sort of magic.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I like this idea that I've got more knowledge, or at least different knowledge, than the people in the present day, because stuff that I remember really clearly may have been lost in their time.
Yeah, people would have had to have been like keeping really, really careful records, or like everybody really trying to remember these things for 100 years or more. 150, 170 years. Yeah, so there would be stuff that you would know that has since been lost.
Yeah.
Yep, I like all of this. This is very cool.
Good.
So you also get some gear.
Yes.
So you have the option of ancient armor appropriate to your origin.
I know. Clank, clank, clank.
Armor doesn't have to be like plate armor. That you could have some sort of like, I don't know,
verbal armor,
slightly steampunk, like galvanic armor or something that Ada could have worked on. If you made a time machine, you could have made weird armor. So you can have that if you want.
If I take armor, does that mean I take 1 less weapon?
Nope.
Oh, okay. In that case, I reckon there definitely would have been some kind of early, almost like a bulletproof vest.
Yeah.
But some kind of material that it makes it harder for, I don't know, would it be something that like repels some types of beast, or means they're less able to harm you? But it would, maybe they came up with some kind of weird material that incorporates garlic and iron and silver.
Could you play into there's ancient, there's ancient magic that's been forgotten, so it's been in like your clothes or something that you wear that maybe the order like gave you as part of your investment, like that is looks like normal cloth, but gives you some protection to whatever forces are hitting you. And that's one of the things that's been lost to time, and was something that was created for the order, and no one else can produce anymore.
Weighted some way.
Yeah, got some sort of warding on it.
Yeah, that sounds cool. And I guess it would just be like, maybe it will be my petticoats.
Yeah.
No, actually, that's not practical if I want to stop wearing petticoats at some point. Like a vest. Yeah, I'm sticking with a sort of like a bulletproof vest, but for weird shit. Yeah.
Bulletproof tunic.
Yes. So sexy.
Nice. Okay, so you have that counts as 1 armor.
Yeah.
And you also get 3.
Yeah.
It says ancient, but we'll just say anachronistic weapons.
Yes. Yeah, that's fine. There are some very amusing options. There's big sword, big axe, shield, big knife, lots of big things. And then things that I'd never, like handgunner, which I assume is like a handgun.
Yeah, like ye oldie handgun.
And a harquebus, which I imagine is like a blunderbuss type
Pretty
thing.
much, yeah.
Anyway, I don't want either of those. The items that I've chosen are kind of ones that I think reflect elements of my character. Mm-hmm. So silver knife, because that sounds quite elegant and could be concealed and I could carry on me at any time.
Cool.
A bow, so I don't always have to get really close to stuff. So there could be like setups when I was working with the Order where I'd be the like long range person.
Cool.
So kind of like an early sniper rifle type situation, but it's a bow.
Are we talking? This is where I get my archery nerd hat on.
Oh yes, please do.
Are we talking longbow, which would be like as tall as you or taller and can shoot like super far?
Right.
Or like a short bow or horsebow, which is more sort of like about 1 meter tall when strung, and is like faster and whippier, but like slightly shorter range, like designed to be shot from horseback or from the hip kind of thing.
Yeah, option B.
Okay. Easier to port around as well.
Yeah, still probably not something that I could heft around on the high street without getting some attention, but that's partly why I went for the silver knife as well, because I think then I can literally have that with me all the time.
Yep.
And then the third option, I went for martial arts.
Cool.
Nice.
Because I imagine that the Order would have had some kind of monk on their team back in the day who just trained everyone up. And I've been being trained since I was like old enough to stand up. So I think I'm very, very good at some hand-to-hand combat.
Nice. Yeah, so this means that your everybody else's unarmed attacks do 0 harm.
Yeah.
So they don't damage, but they still do like a harm move. You could still get someone to drop something or knock them over with it. Your unarmed attacks do 1 harm. So you can actually hurt things with them.
Good.
Brilliant. Okay. So that's your whole playbook, apart from the history stuff, which we'll do. Obviously, history has a different ring for you. Your history with the other players.
Yeah.
So how do you stop yourself from forgetting magic and monsters and the supernatural?
So this is where the scarred body bit comes in.
Ooh, okay.
So I think because I've been trained by the Order since birth, I don't have as much difficulty as most people do in remembering it, because it is literally all I've ever known. I didn't have a point of going, oh my God, monsters are real. It was just, I always knew that. But in order to remember, I do have scars over quite a lot of my body. Some are from injuries, obviously, but a lot of them are self-inflicted, and they're for both the purposes of remembering and also for performing spells.
Ooh, okay.
So I think some of them are like runes.
Oh, okay. So yeah, like you sort of scar it in and then it's kind of usable from then on.
Almost like when you draw a pentacle on the floor or something, you can kind of do a smaller version of a spell like that by using one that I've got carved into my arm.
Yeah. And then of course there's the fact that you are out of your own time. So it's very hard to forget that something's weird.
Yeah. Yes. What's that metal tin on wheels coming towards me super fast?
Yeah, you can definitely at least remember that time travel is real at all times.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you have you checked in with the Department of Admissions since you came to the present?
Now, this will partly depend on the game mechanics and me not messing stuff up. But in an ideal world, I would like to have almost just arrived in the present day. So I know you've mentioned that we do a history section where we talk about our relationship to other characters and stuff. So that would kind of scupper me having any established relationship. Apart from the super old ones, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you had a battle, if you were in Sherrydown as part of the Order and you had a battle in my forest,
you'd have probably known about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nat's character would also have been around at that time.
Yeah.
Josh's character might have memories from past lives.
And Helen's as well. She's old in the game.
Yeah, we've got some.
Oh, yeah, so maybe that's okay. But yeah, relatively recent.
That's allowed, and that might even help from the point of view of the fact that we're doing this for an audience, that if we have you in one of the early sessions, you can almost be like the point of view character who is getting to know what's going on.
Everything's new to me.
Yeah, so whether we do that or not, we can say you've not been in town long, like not long enough to check in. All right. And would you like to add any features to the town?
Yes. So I was in the past stationed here for 2 years, so I'm very familiar with the town as it was then. And there was in my time a well called the Weeping Well, which was said to be inhabited by a weeping spirit. And the water in the well is really potent for banishing or summoning things, so for bringing or sending away, and also for some spell ingredients as well. And it used to be above ground in 1852, but now it is in ? Location.
Ooh, okay. So it might have been covered or moved or something.
Or water might still exist, but not accessible. I don't know.
Interesting. Anybody else got any other questions for Ellie?
Does your magical powers have any school of magic, or is it you're sort of good at everything?
I think I probably have a theoretical knowledge of loads of different types of magic from all over the world, because the Order would have educated me to know as much as they know, basically. But maybe I have a penchant for certain areas. I don't know what that would be.
Do you prefer to like see the future or blow shit up or?
I think I like manipulating stuff, like making stuff move. So like Matilda style. Yeah, manipulating.
Telekinesis.
Yes, that's the word. Thank you. I find that's fun for me. That's really fun.
Cool.
You had like a partnership with Ada. You obviously worked on a time machine together and were both members of the Order. Like, what was that? Do you want to define, like, if she was like the calculation and mathematics genius, like what was were you then like the mystical counterpart? Like what do you imagine the interplay being?
I think maybe mystical counterpart is cool. I think I probably also have a fairly decent level of skill in terms of engineering as well. So obviously she was working with Babbage, but maybe Babbage wasn't, I don't know, maybe it was so top secret, the time machine stuff, that he wasn't actually directly involved in that.
Hey, we can downplay Babbage's...
Babbage was busy.
Babbage didn't really do it. It was all Ada.
Yes, classic man, taking the credit. So yeah, maybe she was more she was obviously the mathematician and I was the practical application. So I was actually building the machine.
And that makes sense then why you'd have the armor and you were the one to actually go through the time machine and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that gives us possibilities of you like building things in the present day then as well.
Yes, please.
And learning how stuff, like being fascinated by gadgets potentially.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man, I'm going to get so into like fridges and radios and the internet.
Well, yeah, when you'd find out what computers became.
Oh, boy, howdy. I'd be so proud.
So question for me. This time machine, is it the sort that's sort of like it's a one-way trip? Did you have a plan of getting back?
Yeah, I think there was a plan for getting back and it just didn't happen. And now I know that Ada died the next day. So I don't know, like, I don't know what happened, but I was supposed to get there and back. That was supposed to work.
But you went the wrong way and now can't go back.
Yep.
Right. Was it the sort of time machine that you get in it and it zaps you somewhere and you just appear somewhere? Or does the machine... Do you travel in the machine? Does the machine come with you? Did the machine come with you to the present day and like crash? Or did you just appear in a field?
I don't know. Because it could be one where like it zaps me, but I have like, I'm wearing something that anchors me. So it could be the amulet that does that.
That could be cool. Yeah, that's the thing it's supposed to use to drag you back when the time comes, but it never did.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be cool. Because then as well, if I want to try and build a machine to get me back again, I both do not have the actual machine nor the mathematical knowledge to do it, which is definitely part of my motivation for joining the current version of the Order, because they're not only the closest thing to familiarity that I have, they're also the only people who believe anything that I say about what's happened to me. And now I probably think they're the only chance I have of getting back, or at least finding out what actually happened.
Yeah, and it'll be really interesting to see like what your attitude or what Persephone's attitude is to like how people are handling the supernatural these days.
Yeah.
Whether she's like, oh, all of this has gone to the dogs, it was done better in my day, or not.
Could be like a presenting as young grandma. Oh, back in my day, we didn't do that.
There was no ghoul catch and release in the local woodland.
Oh, yeah, I'd probably be pretty astonished that they even considered not just killing things immediately. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think while I was making the character, I was thinking, I've actually listened to all of the other character creation sessions and thinking about how she's going to interact with other characters is going to be pretty bonkers.
Yeah, I can't wait to see some of the sparks fly, some of the chemistry happening. Yeah, well, you are ready to do that. You're ready to play, Ellie.
Thank you. Locked and loaded.
This has been Vigil, a main house production from Merely Roleplayers. It stars Dave as Mick, Vicky as Renko, Ellie Pitkin as Persephone Byron, and Alex Pankhurst as Graham. Sound design for this production is by Natalie Winter, and the theme music is by Alex Pankhurst. I'm Matt Boothman, and I play the supporting cast, as well as editing and producing this episode. We were playing Monster of the Week, a role-playing game by Michael Sands, published by Evil Hat Productions. You can find Monster of the Week at genericgames.co.nz. Merely Roleplayers is a Foggy Outline production in association with Blackshaw Theatre Company. Until next time, if drama be the food of life, play on.